What's up, everybody? This is Cumulus, and this is going to be an overview video. So ins and outs on the back, we have 1/8" jacks for MIDI, TRS-A, this is used for notes, clock, MPE stuff, standard MIDI stuff. We have a line input, this is stereo. We have a stereo line output. We have headphone jack. Then we have our USB-C, which is used to charge the battery, power the unit. It can be used for MIDI, and it also can be used to sample, so you can sample audio through the USB. On the back, we just have a single 18650 battery, and yeah, you can power the unit with it. It does not come with a battery, and you do not need a battery, but it's there if you want to take it out and about. So as far as controls, we have 4 encoders with these wooden knobs. We have a couple of potentiometers for volume and filter controls. We have a menu button dedicated just to the menu. We have an onboard mic right here, and then we have a SD card slot right here in the front. It's kind of hard to see, but micro SD card for loading in samples. So Cumulus is a sample-based instrument that basically uses 4 different playheads to kind of play back samples in various ways, where you have a single sample, and then these 4 tracks, as I refer to them, can play different parts of the sample, can jump around. They have a whole lot of features per track. So if I were to clear out what's going on right now and just kind of put all the loop points to the start and end, here's the original sample. It's just like some random notes, some random FM notes. And then here's the preset of that, which is what you were listening to in the intro. So things are kind of jumping around, playing at different speeds. So yeah, before we get into creating our own presets and whatnot, we'll go over all the stuff really quick from the manual just to get a general idea of how to use it. So first of all, you have your shift control. This is, you can double tap this to latch it, but generally you just hold it as a momentary control. When shift is held, you're kind of in select mode. You're selecting different modes. You're selecting different tracks or all of them by double tapping. And when it's not held or latched, you're kind of in play mode, where this acts as an onboard keyboard, and then the track buttons actually act as droning the tracks. So you can play them down here, or you can play them up here. Down here, obviously, it gets pitch information. Up here, it does not. So basically, you hop into different modes, and then depending on what mode you're in, the encoders will do different things. So we will go through the modes really quick. So we'll hold shift, go into general. Some of the modes have 2 pages where you just tap it twice to get to the second page. And it's indicated by these little circles that are on the top of the menu. Probably can't see those too well on the video, but again, this is all laid out in the manual. So general mode, page 1, we have volume, pan, flutter, which is kind of like a wow and flutter, like tape emulation. It basically does random pitch fluctuations at different times, and then you just have a percentage of how deep that fluctuation is. Then we have glide, which is just portamento. So page 2 of general is your MIDI settings. We have unison, which plays all of the tracks at once. We have poly, which you can play like a polyphonic synth. We have MPE mode, which is pretty much like poly, but you get the MPE like polyphonic aftertouch, and the slide control, so that's per note. Then we have poly channel, which is basically like MPE mode, but you're able to address individual tracks by their channels specifically. So MPE mode uses Omni, it uses all the channels and kind of round robins through them. Polychannel, you set a start channel, so if you set channel 4 as your start channel, then it'll be 4, 5, 6, and 7 would be your MIDI channels to address the tracks. All right, so the loop mode, you set your start points, you set your end points. You can move them both at the same time. And then you have your play speed, which kind of just sets your bass pitch. And it goes down to 0 up to 800 times the original speed. So then we have filter. Filter is another one with 2 pages. Page 1 is the left, page 2 is the right. This is a stereo filter. So by default, the last control sets link on and off. And if link is on, the controls you do to one will affect the other. So link is on and you change the filter frequency, then you will change the filter frequency of both the left and right channel at the same time. You can turn link off, adjust the filter to be whatever, and then turn it back on, and it'll kind of move together. So that can be kind of interesting for some stereo filter goodness. Then we have our LFOs. So LFO 1 and 2, these are both identical. They both have 2 pages. We have our shape, sine, triangle, saw, square, random. We have our frequency, we have our level, and then we have our reset, which basically just resets the LFO on note inputs or on the keyboard, onboard keyboard. And then we have page 2, sets MIDI sync on or off, which will change the LFOs from a frequency to like a multiplication division of the incoming MIDI clock. So that's LFO 1 and 2. We have our envelopes, amp and mod. These are also both identical. The amp envelope is by default controlling the amplitude, but you can change that in the mod matrix. But we have ADSR on the knobs, attack, decay, sustain, release. Page 2 of the envelopes are our 2 extra stages. These are 6-stage loopable envelopes. So we have a delay. This is the stage before the attack. And then we have a hold stage. And this is right after the attack before the decay. And then the loop of the envelope on or off. Like I said, both these amp and mod are exactly the same. It's just the amp is by default routed to the amplitude. Now we get into the mod matrix. This is a huge part of Cumulus and how you create patches is with the mod matrix. So you have 8 sources and 31 destinations. So here are all your sources. Some of them are MIDI sources. Some of them are the LFOs and the envelopes. And then, so you select your source with knob 1, select your destination with knob 2, and then you select your amount, either positive or negative. And you can go through just like do another one. So all sources can go to all destinations at the same time. Again, we're just on track 1. So this can be done for all 4 tracks. These are all independent. If you hit matrix again to go to the second page, you see the listing of all the modulation. This is, you don't interact with this, so you don't set the values here. You can just see what is going on, give you an overview of all the modulation for a track. So then we have our zoom control, which is just to get in and take a look at the waveform. You can get really close with the start and end points to kind of set them really precisely. At the top, there's kind of this gray navigation bar that shows you where you're at. So that can be really helpful when you're moving around the waveform. So we have a zoom in amount, position, and then whether you want to see the left channel, right channel, or left and right. By default, it does left and right. And then we have reverb. This is a global reverb over all the tracks. Size, diffusion, low pass, and mix. These are also destinations in the mod matrix. So those are all the modes. There's also, you can do this, you can go into random by holding shift and random. You set the amount with the first encoder, and then these 2 set whether or not you want to include pitch or the loop points when you randomize. And then while these are held, you can press either in a track to randomize all the parameters, or you can select individual modes if you just want to randomize like the LFO. You can also do the matrix, which does random values on everything. So it just like sets a random value for every single source destination pairing, which can be really crazy. Then we have clear. Same idea, hold down shift, hold down clear. You can press a track to clear out an entire track, or just a mode by selecting a mode. I usually just do tracks, and then you can select the reverb separately. and the zoom will zoom you back out to a full view of the waveform. Okay, so we have these buttons here, which are, these triangles are octave up and down when you're in normal play mode. When you're in the shift mode, or you have the shift latched, you can do copying by holding shift, holding copy. You select your first track, and then you select your destination track to copy one track to another. So you also have this absolute mode, which can be a little bit confusing. So I'll try to explain this visually with the loop points, because I think that kind of shows it off what it does pretty well. So we're gonna set some loop points here, start and end. We'll select track 2, start and end, 3, start and end, and 4, start and end. So by default, if we have all the tracks selected right now and we move both points, the start and end points, you can see those lines, the start and end points on the waveform kind of moving together. So it respects where each individual track's start and end points are and just moves relative to those. But if I go into absolute mode, and the absolute mode is a toggle when you have shift held, and you can see if it's on, the triangle is lit up. So absolute mode works with like a key track. So it's whatever the first track you select. If you want to select all of them, it's when you double tap, whichever one you double tap on, that's your key track. If you want to select just a couple, you can hold down 1 and then say I want 1 and 3. While 1 is held, I'll just hit 3 as well. And now when I move the start point, 3 will jump to 1. So let's do that with all of them. I'll do select all of them. So now when I move the start point, all the loop points jump to 1's loop point. And that's the same with all the controls if absolute mode is on. It's just a way to quickly make all the tracks like a key track. Like if you like the settings on one of the tracks and you don't want to copy and paste them. But by default, it's off, but it's there if you want that feature. So with all of these controls, we have a fine and coarse, which I haven't talked about yet. But so let's say I want to move things quicker. I can hold down coarse and the steps jump way more. If I want finer control, I hold down fine and the loop point's moving just barely. And you can also hold both of them down. And this is an ultra fine control. So you can't even barely see the loop point moving. If we zoomed way in, you'd be able to see it a lot better. So you can hold down coarse to kind of make big coarse movements, fine to make finer movements, and ultra fine to make very intricate movements of all the parameters. Okay, one mode we haven't talked about is the record and live mode. And that's the button right next to shift here. So if we press it once, this is to kind of set up record mode. So we have our input where we can have our line level, our mic, our USB. You can resample the output as also a sampling source. So if we select mic, you can see my voice right now coming in on the bars to the left there. And then you can set, if you want it to start recording on a certain threshold, by default, that's off, but you can set that here. And I'm not sure how well it comes in on the camera, but there's bars right here on the audio meters, so you can kind of get an idea of when that threshold will be crossed. You can set your mic gain here. Usually 30 is pretty good. This is for, again, for the internal mic only. And then we also have a monitor control where we can set if we want to actually hear the incoming audio. So I guess we can go ahead and record a sample. Right now we have the record threshold set. So when we hit start record on the touchscreen here, it won't record until that audio crosses the threshold. So we can give that a go right now. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. We are recording. You can hit the button here to stop recording. You can also hit stop record on the touchscreen. So now we have that recording. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. We are recording. So cool. So there's a sample. So you can record straight into there. If you want to record onto the device, you can also load samples onto the SD card. So the second page of the record modes is live mode. And live mode kind of does everything that you can do on a sample to incoming audio. So you have a buffer time up here. So right by default, it's at 4 seconds, but it can go as low as half a second, and it can go up to 14 seconds. And then you also have a MIDI clocked buffer where you can, when you start seeing divisions or bars, that's based on an incoming MIDI clock, so it can sync up. So the other control on live mode is the feedback, which feeds the currently playing buffer into the currently recording buffer. Okay, so finally wrapping up, we'll go into the menu, which has 3 tabs. You can kind of tab with the first encoder here, and the first tab is all of the samples, and this just lists out all the samples on the device. You can load them, you can rename them, you can delete them. You can use these on-screen controls by touching the touchscreen, but you can also use the tracks, which you can see the colors match up to what's on the screen there. So then we have our second page, our second tab, which is presets. Same idea, load, save, delete. So the last tab is your global settings, where you can set your LED brightness, you can set your touch sensor threshold. Usually I keep this pretty low, around 7 or so. But if it's triggering too much, if the touches are happening when you're not touching it, you can turn it up higher and turn it down if it's not reading your touches well enough. You have record toggle MIDI CC. This is just a MIDI CC you can send to start recording and stop recording. Any non-zero is start, 0 is stop. Same with the live mode. I usually have these off. Mode pop-ups are, if you switch to a different mode, it'll show that little graphic and show you what mode you're on. Parameter pop-ups, same idea. It's so if you have the parameter pop-ups off, you won't see this kind of pop-up in the middle of the screen. The colors here actually indicate if you're on all tracks or just one track. So if we have one track selected, you can see just the green is solid and the rest are just outlines. So you can kind of get a better idea that you're only editing one track. Or if 1 and 3 is selected, you'll see that on the pop-up as well. All right, let's build up a patch from scratch. First of all, we're going to load up this wavetable sample, and this is how it sounds. We are going to start out by selecting all tracks, going into loop mode, and we're just going to make a really tight little loop at the start. We're going to move it out a little bit. As you can hear, the pitch is changing as we change the loop points because this is a very small sample and we're already really tight on the loop points for this size of sample. So first thing I want to do is set some different pitches for the different tracks. So track 1, I'm going to go down to 25 per, or I'm going to go actually maybe 50%. Track 2, I'm going to go 75, which is this way. Track 3, I'm going to leave it 100. Track 4, I'm going to go 125. All right. Because we're playing in unison, that's just playing a chord now. We can change the kind of initial pitch by changing the endpoint. All right, that sounds pretty cool already. So what I want to do now is have the different notes of the chord come in at different times. So I'm going to go into the amp envelope. I'm going to have all tracks selected. I'm going to go to page 2, and I'm going to turn the envelope loop on. And I'm going to go back to page 1. I'm going to turn the sustain all the way down. I'm going to turn some attack, some maybe 3 seconds each. So now they'll kind of fade in and out, but they'll still all be playing together. So I'm going to go into individual tracks now. I'm going to leave track 1 alone. I'm going to go to track 2, go to page 2. I'm going to set some delay before that amp even starts. Maybe like half a second-ish. Track 3, go to like 2 seconds. Yeah, that might be kind of long. I might want to turn that down. Track 3, I don't know, something random. So now when you play it, you hear the cycles kind of change the longer the loops go. So now I want all these to kind of scan through this waveform as well. So I'm going to select all tracks by double tapping. I'm going to go to the mod envelope. I'm going to turn the attack way up, all the way up, which is almost 12 seconds. I'm going to go into the matrix. I'm going to select with our source, our mod, and then in the destination, if you hold shift, if you're on start or end, it'll select both of them. So I'm going to put about, I don't know, 10%. I think I'm going to do a mod envelope to the filter as well. So I'll go into the matrix, mod envelope as the source. Filter left, I'll go up, I don't know, 38%. Filter right, go up a little more actually, almost 50. And then hop into the filters themselves and turn the initial frequency down. So there's a nice little chord patch. All right, let's create a little ambient soundscape patch. So hop into the menu. Going to maybe grab this piano sample. Let's turn our volume up. All right, right away, I want to grab the loops. I'm going to start from like putting them all at the same size. I'm going to kind of space them out throughout the sample, wherever I think might sound cool. And yeah, I'll keep this one over here. And then I'm going to double tap to select them all. I'm going to turn the pitch to 50% on all of them. Sounded pretty nice already. So let's now modulate. Let's go into LFO1 for all the tracks. We'll set the shape to random, and then we'll hop into the mod matrix. We'll use LFO1 as our source. We'll use destination to the end of the loop points, and then we will set an amount. Maybe we'll do a negative amount. And it looks like most of them are going to be pretty small and even sometimes go before the start point, which we'll play them in reverse. All right, I'm going to go into track 3. I'm going to go to LFO2. Going to do a square for the shape. I'm going to hop into the matrix, select LFO2, select destination of pitch or play speed. I'm going to do about 50%. And then we'll just see how that sounds. As you can hear, it's jumping between octaves as it's playing, which is pretty nice. I'm gonna double tap to select all of them. I'm gonna go into the LFO. Actually, I'm gonna go into each individual track and just set different timings for those LFOs so they're not all going at the same timing. Just kind of nudge them around a little bit. This has sounded pretty nice already. let's do some panning. So I'm gonna go track 1, LFO 2. It's a sine, I like that. I'm gonna go into the matrix, have LFO 2 selected. I'm going to go to pan, add some level there, and then I'm going to hop in, maybe do it for all of them at different amounts. LFO 2 of track 3 is a square, but that's okay. We'll still pan it around a little bit. I'm going to double tap to select all the tracks, go into filter, bring the filter frequency down. And then maybe also have that be adjusted by LFO1 for all of the tracks. So back in the mod matrix, LFO1, destination, filter, left, go up 47%. Filter right, maybe go, maybe a little more, even 70%. I like how this is sounding. There's a lot of randomness happening just by those endpoints jumping around. And it wouldn't be ambient without some reverb. I'm gonna put the size at 100%. Mix about 50%. At least a little bit of level there, but turn this up a little bit. Select all the tracks and maybe give them a little more volume. We could also drive the filters a little bit. Maybe we should do that. Get a little burn on the filter. Get these tight little loops happening every once in a while. Alright. Use the master filter here. Ooh, that was a really tight loop there at the end. Alright, there's a quick little ambient patch with this piano sample. All right, let's play with the live mode a little bit. So we'll go into the first page of the input, and I'm playing off screen. I have a little OP1, which you can see coming in, but we can't hear it yet. So we're gonna go ahead and turn that monitor up to about 50%. All right. And then we have our live buffer setting where we have 2-second buffer, 0 feedback, and we'll go ahead and hit start live. Then we're back here. As we play some notes, we'll see every time the buffer goes across, we'll see some new audio data coming in. And we're not hearing any of the tracks playing because they're not activated. We can kind of play them at whatever timing we want. So right now it's kind of acting as this repeater every 2 seconds. But let's start messing with the tracks a little bit. We'll just go ahead and turn off live mode when we do this, but I'm going to go into each individual track and just start changing the settings a little bit. So go into the loop of track 1. Maybe we want it to start here but end over here. Go to track 2. We might want this one to play in reverse here, and we'll also, let's make it play at 200 times speed. Track 3, we'll go maybe more towards the middle, and we'll have it play at 50% speed. And then track 4, let's go way down to like 25% speed, and then we'll have the loop points, maybe do most of it. And then maybe on track 3, we'll go into LFO 1. We'll put a square LFO shape, and then we'll hop into the mod matrix. We'll use that LFO to change the pitch or the speed by about 50%. And just those changes alone, let's see what it sounds like. So we'll engage live mode with the shortcut, which is Shift and record. You can see it coming in, and then I'll start playing some notes. Oh, we got some crazy pitch shifting happening. Why was that? Oh, we use LFO2 instead of LFO1. I meant to do LFO1. So that's okay. We'll go to LFO2 and just change that shape back to a square. So now the pitch jumps are being modulated by a square. And let's hop into reverb. Let's put that up. Put the mix up, put the size way up. And maybe let's select all the tracks. We'll put a little flutter on things. We'll pan them around a little bit. So we'll do track 1 to the left, track 2 to the right. Just kind of pan them out in space, and then select all the tracks, LFO1. Let's put that to random. And then we'll have that adjust maybe the start points. So those are kind of jumping around, maybe the end points too, in the negative fashion. So let's see what this sounds like. We can bring down, we can kind of use this global filter as a wet dry a little bit, because audio is still getting passed through to our output, and then this is the track playback we're bringing in with the filter here. Now let's put some feedback in so we get more cascading kind of effects. Let's put some resonance on the global filter. I'm just kind of noodling over here on the keyboard. Yeah, that's a pretty nice sounding live mode. So now let's just go through a couple presets and give you an idea of kind of the before and after of just hearing the sample and then hearing the preset.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
so that is Cumulus. I think that's about everything I wanted to go over, all the features. If you have any specific questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or you can contact me directly at rainydayei.com. Just use the contact form there. I hope you guys enjoy Cumulus, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.